Head over to Manhattan's far west side and something unusual stands out. Not just another glass tower, not another reflective slab competing for height. This one twists, rising more than 300 meters into the skyline. The Spiral is one of New York's most ambitious skyscrapers. $3.7 billion experiment in how offices are built and why they should exist at all. At first glance, it looks sculptural, but the shape isn't arbitrary. This building didn't twist for drama. It twisted for a reason.
In 1916, in New York, another force, the voice of the people, was being applied to the growing city. Their demand for daylight at street level was requiring the buildings to step back as they reached towards the sky. And so, the New York skyscraper was born.
And for most of the last century, cities celebrated one idea above all others: efficiency. Office towers became machines, floor stacked as tightly as possible, glass repeated endlessly, circulation minimized. The goal wasn't experience, it was output. Views were reserved for the top, outdoor space was optional or even non-existent. The skyscraper wasn't meant to be explored, it was just meant to be occupied. Then remote work changed the equation.
One thing that can't happen, you can't stay home in your pajamas all day.
Not because people stopped liking cities, but because they discovered something else: choice. If a building offers nothing beyond a desk and an elevator, there's no longer a reason to show up. The modern office isn't competing with other offices anymore. It's competing with the home. And that forces a new question: what does a workplace offer?
On Manhattan's west side, we bring together the spiral form and the New York skyscraper to create the Spiral, a new tower that stands out amongst its neighbors, forming an ascending ribbon of lively green spaces, extending the High Line into the skyline. A building designed for the people that occupy it, the Spiral ensures that every floor of the tower opens up to the outdoors, creating hanging gardens and cascading atria that connect the open floor plates from the ground floor to the summit into a single, uninterrupted workspace.
The Spiral rises from the Hudson Yards, a neighborhood that exists only because of the infrastructure. Below the towers, active rail lines never stop moving. Hudson Yards was never about nostalgia. It was about scale, density, and ambition. We made it the perfect testing ground for a new kind of skyscraper. In New York, zoning laws shape buildings long before architects do. Setbacks weren't invented to create beauty. They were meant to preserve light, air, and space at the street level. Most towers treat zoning as a constraint. Instead of hiding the setbacks, the Spiral turns them into a structure. Every required setback becomes visible, and more importantly, usable. Big took each mandated setback and connected them. What would normally be a series of disconnected outdoor spaces become a single, continuous path. The Spiral wraps the tower like a slow, deliberate movement upward. A spiral is not the fastest way up. Unlike the stairs, a spiral never fully resets its position. You're always moving forward, but never abruptly. There is no single movement of arrival. You're constantly becoming higher. Movement itself becomes the experience. Nearly every floor opens outdoors, not as a rooftop reward, but as a daily condition.
Because the Spiral is a full block building, we have different weather conditions on every single elevation. So we have most sun on south and west, whereas our northern side sees very little sun. The west side, because it's facing the river, is when it's extremely windy. And because of the shape of the tower too, we are experiencing pretty extreme wind speeds in the winter months. To consider, right? That it's not only about giving the view, but it's actually, in a sense, giving back to the city, right? That by occupying its vertical.
Terraces become shared spaces, places to pause, places to step outside without leaving the building behind. The Spiral doesn't isolate workers by height, it connects them through landscape. This is an amenity. It's infrastructure for human presence. The Spiral doesn't pretend to be unnatural. Instead, it behaves responsibly within an artificial environment. Plants are selected based on elevation, wind exposure, and sunlight. Outdoor spaces act as buffers, not decorations.
We cantilever the building in by 2.5 feet. So there's a constant step, right, which puts a lot of pressure on the stiffness of the building core. We did have to provide horizontal trusses at every floor to contain building sort of willingness to pull itself apart.
With major tenants like Pfizer, the building enters a real test. The spiral doesn't solve every problem, but it reframes a skyscraper as something more than just stacked floors and views. It suggests that tall buildings call for journeys, not just destinations. That workspaces can be shaped, not just filled. And that sometimes slowing people down is the most productive thing architecture can do.
If we prove to be successful, right, growing that vertical garden on a skyscraper and then spark the willingness of the workforce to actually come to an office environment, we hope that maybe that will encourage others to undertake similar challenges.
The spiral is located at one of the best areas of Manhattan. Located at the new west edge of Manhattan, right at the intersection of the High Line and Hudson Boulevard, the building extends into the green area of the old railroad tracks, and it spirals its way up into the sky. On the 66th floor, the spiral has its own clubhouse, exclusively reserved for people to get together, connect, recharge in the private dining room or on the open-air terrace. And get this, as a feature, there are even sleeping pods up here. To really understand how this tower works, you have to look past the glass and think about what's happening inside. Every skyscraper has two personalities: the core, elevators, stairs, mechanical systems, and the foreplate where the people actually live and work. Here, the design is engineered so the core stays efficient, while the perimeter becomes the experience. That's why the views are so wide, and why the terraces don't feel like an afterthought, because structurally, these sky gardens aren't just platforms. They're built like stacked cantilevers, slab extending outward, tied back into the building frame. And that forces a very specific kind of engineering. You need deeper beams, transferring framing, a structural rhythm that can handle outdoor loads. Soil, trees, water, people. That's basically asking a skyscraper to carry pieces of a park in the air. But here's the genius. Those terraces aren't only aesthetic. They are part of the building's climate strategy. The setbacks create shadow zones which reduce overheating. They break up the wind, reducing gusts at the facade, and the greenery helps cool the microclimate on those outdoor levels. So the building isn't just a shiny icon. It's a modern skyscraper that's learning a new rule. Comfort isn't only mechanical, it's structural. And that's why I feel like this is the future. It's not just a glass tower and plants. It's structure, shape, climate, design working together to make the skyline more livable. And if you enjoyed this video and want more, make sure you subscribe.